You will stop chasing the moment you realize one truth. What's meant for you will never require begging. Now let's get real for a second. How many times have you stared at your phone, waiting and hoping for one text? That's all you want. You send a message, maybe casual, maybe vulnerable, and then nothing. Silence. It feels like whispering into an empty void. But instead of walking away, you keep checking, as if your phone is some kind of crystal ball that will suddenly give you the answer you crave. Let me tell you something. You are not alone in this. But here's the truth. You deserve better. Before we go deeper, hit that like button and subscribe, because this message will change the way you see everything. Now picture this. You're at a vending machine. You put in your money, press the button, and wait. But nothing comes out. What do? Do you keep feeding it more money? Do you keep pressing, hoping it magically starts working? No, you walk away, because that machine is broken. Yet when it comes to people, we refuse to do the same. We keep investing time, energy, and emotions, pouring everything into someone who gives nothing back. We lie to ourselves, thinking maybe they're just busy, maybe they didn't see it, maybe we need to try harder. No, stop that right now. You've been sold a scam, the idea that if you just love harder, they'll see your worth. And if you prove yourself enough, they'll choose you. Those are lies. A person who truly values you will never make you beg for a place in their life. Imagine this. You're watering a dead plant, waiting for it to grow. But here's the truth. You are not the gardener. You are the garden. You are the sunlight, the soil, the storm, and the bloom. If someone can't appreciate your growth, that's their loss, not yours. And here's the kicker. If they truly wanted to talk to you, they would. Simple as that. When someone cares, they show up. When they value you, you don't have to remind them. Every time you send another text after being ignored, it's like walking into a room, placing your crown on the floor, and saying, "Go ahead, step on it." For what? For breadcrumbs? For someone who treats you like a backup plan? No, you are not an option. You are the main event, the chef, the table, and the 5-star review. Stop handing your worth to people who can't even afford the tip. Think about this. Do you think legends waste time chasing? Does a prominent figure sit around waiting for a text? Hell no. They focus on their empire, their power, their purpose. And that is exactly what you need to do, because when you chase, you rob people of the chance to miss you. When you keep showing up, checking in, reminding them you exist, you take away their opportunity to realize what they lost. Why should they value you if they know you'll always be there waiting? A lion never begs a gazelle to stay. A king doesn't plead for a seat at his own throne. And you are royalty, so stop chasing and start building. Here's the harsh truth. Every time you let yourself be ignored, you're teaching your mind that their validation matters more than your self-respect. You tell yourself, lies. Maybe I need to change. Maybe I'm not enough. No, you are enough, exactly as you are. If someone can't see that, it's their blind spot, not your burden. And here's the best part. Today, you take your power back. No more waiting, no more chasing, no more refreshing that chat like your happiness depends on it. It's time to step into your glow. You are the prize, the priority, and you deserve to be loved boldly, loudly, without hesitation. Say this out loud. I am the prize. I am the priority. Write it, own it, live it. Because when you start believing this truth, the game changes. No more chasing, no more waiting, no more hoping. Just you rising, thriving, becoming the version of yourself that never begs for what's already yours. Now I want you to prove something, not to them, but to yourself. You've watched until the end, which means deep down, you already know the truth. So here's your next step. Comment below. I know my value, because you do. When you say it, when you write it, you make it real. Hit that like button, subscribe, and remember, your value has never been in their hands. It has always been in yours. Now go live like it. Stop handing your crown to clowns. If someone treats you like an option, leave them like a choice. But here you are, waiting for a message, a sign, some moment of validation that might never come. Staring at your phone, convincing yourself maybe they're just busy, maybe they'll realize what they have. Maybe if you try a little harder, they'll finally see your worth. Wake up. Imagine walking into a high-end boutique with a flawless diamond ring. You place it on the counter, and the jeweler barely looks at it before offering you a couple of bucks. Would you take it? Would you shrug and think maybe that's all it's worth? Of course not. You'd laugh and walk out because you know exactly what you're holding. So why then do you keep trying to prove your worth to someone who won't even take a moment to see it? The harsh truth is, you're out here shining like gold, and they're treating you like a clearance item at a thrift store. You're waiting for someone who doesn't respect royalty. They just want entertainment. I get it. You've invested time, energy, and emotions. You believed in their potential. You saw something in them that maybe no one else did. And the thought of walking away feels impossible. Like all that effort would be for nothing. Like you'd be throwing away something that could have worked if only you held on a little longer. That's the lie, isn't it? The little story you keep telling yourself. Let me break it down for you. Love is not a game of endurance. You don't win by being the one who holds on the longest. You don't earn someone's love by proving you're worthy of it. With the right person, you won't have to convince them. You won't have to remind them to text back. You won't have to chase, beg, or play guessing games, because someone who truly values you will never put you in a position where you have to wonder if they do. But fear keeps you stuck. What if I walk away and they finally realize they love me? What if they change? What if I never find someone else? Let me tell you something. They won't change. Not for you. Not now. Not ever. Because the second you accept less than you deserve, you teach them that it's okay to treat you that way. The longer you stay, the harder it becomes to leave because you start convincing yourself this is normal. It's not. You keep thinking that if you let them go, you'll regret it. But the only regret you'll have is not leaving sooner. Do you know how many people have wasted years waiting for someone to wake up and realize their worth? Years they could have spent thriving, growing, being truly loved by someone who sees them, chooses them, respects them. But they didn't walk away. They held on, believing in a fairy tale that never existed. Let me hit you with something real. You don't lose people who genuinely care about you. They lose you. So stop waiting, stop hoping, and stop making excuses for someone who has already shown you who they are. Pay attention to actions, not words. Anyone can say, I care. But if they truly cared, you wouldn't have to wonder. Society has tricked you into thinking that if you're patient enough, if you love hard enough, if you prove yourself enough, they'll finally see your worth. But here's what they don't tell you. The moment you have to prove your worth to someone, you've already lost. A real one already sees it. They don't need convincing. They don't need a second chance to treat you right. And I know what you're thinking. But what if I'm the problem? What if I just wasn't good enough? stop right there. The fact that you're here listening to this means you already care more than they ever did. If they couldn't see your heart, your effort, your love, it's their loss, not yours. You don't have to be more of anything for the right person. So today, make a decision. Stop begging for the bare minimum. Stop lowering your standards just to be chosen. Stop waiting for a message that may never come. Walk away, not because they don't matter, but because you matter more. Stop watering dead grass while you're pouring your time, energy, and love into someone who doesn't reciprocate. Your own garden is withering away. The wrong person makes you beg for attention, affection, and love. The right person gives it freely. Yet here you stand, watering dead grass. You show up day after day, hoping they'll finally notice you. You tell yourself if you love them hard enough, they'll love you back. But how long can you keep feeding something that refuses to grow? Picture this. You're standing in a dusty patch of land, sprinkling water over brittle stalks that refuse to turn green. The sun is beating down, your muscles ache and your heart feels heavy. Not a single sign of life appears. No fresh sprouts, no vibrant color, no promise of better days. Meanwhile, right behind you, your true garden, the place where your heart, mind, and spirit flourish, lies neglected, thirsting for the very care you keep giving to the wrong soil. It's easy to get stuck in the cycle of false hope. You say, but what if I stop trying right before they decide I'm worth it? Or, what if they suddenly change and become the person I've always wanted them to be? It's the gamble of love many people cling to. But here's a question worth asking. If someone truly values you, would they make you question whether you're worth it in the first place? Love isn't a reward for persistence. You don't win real affection by running yourself ragged. That's the trap of wishful thinking. The idea that if you just endure the drought a little longer, that barren ground will somehow bloom. But love doesn't work like that. Watering dead grass is a metaphor for investing in a relationship that has no intention of growing. As one saying goes, you can't revive a dead horse by beating it, and you can't force life into a connection that's never going to bud. The real tragedy is what happens to your own sense of self while you wait for them to change. Each time you send another text to someone who doesn't reply, each time you offer comfort to someone who barely notices you're there, you rob yourself of the energy you could be spending on your own growth. You trade your peace for anxiety, your self-esteem for desperation, and your joy for the faint hope that they'll suddenly realize how amazing you are. Here's a thought that might keep you up at night. What if I'm simply not enough? That question is a silent thief of self-worth. You might catch yourself thinking, maybe I should be funnier, smarter, better looking, more understanding. Maybe then they'd care. But that's an endless spiral because the problem isn't you. The problem is that you're giving all you have to someone who isn't inclined to return it. Imagine your heart as a lush garden full of potential. Every seed could blossom into something beautiful if nurtured properly. But if you waste all your water on dry, cracked earth that refuses to yield, who's tending the flowers inside you? There's an old proverb that goes, "Where love grows, it thrives on mutual care." If only one person does all the caring, it's not mutual. It's one-sided. And one-sided relationships are emotional drainers. You might wonder, but what if I'm giving up too soon? That kind of question keeps you trapped, repeating the same pattern and expecting a different outcome. The truth is, if they valued you, you'd feel it. Love leaves little room for confusion. because it moves in clarity and consistency. When someone genuinely appreciates your presence, they don't leave you guessing. They don't make you stand around with a watering can, silently hoping they'll come over and plant seeds of reciprocation. Some people cling to the dream that their devotion will spark a miraculous turnaround. They become convinced that staying is an act of courage. But there's a difference between courage and self-betrayal. Courage is facing life's challenges without losing your sense of self. Self-betrayal is repeatedly throwing yourself at someone's feet, hoping they'll notice your scars and decide to stop causing new ones. So ask yourself, how long are you willing to neglect your own garden to keep watering theirs? Each day you spend waiting for them to see your worth is a day you're not cultivating your own goals, passions, and well-being. Your own field of dreams remains parched because your best energy goes to a plot of land that won't yield a harvest. If doubt creeps in, think about your favorite quote or a line that reminds you of your strength. For instance, a rose that refuses to bloom in one garden might flourish in another. Sometimes the issue isn't who you are, it's where you're trying to grow. Your environment shapes you, and if the environment is unresponsive, if it gives you nothing but dryness, then you owe it to yourself to move on to healthier soil. Ultimately, you have a choice. You can keep watering dead grass, or you can turn around and focus on the life that's waiting for you elsewhere. The second you stop wasting your love on the wrong person, you start giving it to yourself. That is the moment you begin to blossom in ways you never imagined. When you reclaim your energy and direct it inward, you realize you never needed to beg for water in the first place. You were always the source. Here's an affirmation worth holding close. I deserve to be loved the way I love others. Say it. Let it sink into your bones. Because once you accept that simple truth, you will never again settle for dry earth when your garden deserves to flourish. Wipe the fog and see the truth. The biggest lie you'll ever tell yourself is that they just need more time to realize your worth. And yet here you are, waiting, hoping, giving them space, making excuses, convincing yourself that if you just love them harder, wait a little longer, prove yourself a little more, they'll finally see what they have in you. Let me save you from wasting any more of your time. They already see you. They just don't care enough to hold on. I know that's brutal. I know it stings. But what stings even more is lying to yourself while wasting your own life. Picture this. You're standing in front of a mirror, but the glass is covered in fog. You can barely see your own reflection, yet instead of wiping it clean, you just keep staring, squinting, tilting your head, trying to adjust your angle, hoping the image will somehow become clear. But that's not how clarity works. The truth isn't found in adjusting your perspective. It's in wiping the fog away. And that fog, it's made up of every excuse you've been feeding yourself. Maybe they're just bad at texting. Maybe they're scared of commitment. Maybe they've been hurt before. Maybe they just need time to figure things out. Maybe they just don't care enough. That's the part no one wants to say out loud because it hurts. It forces you to accept that all the love, effort, and patience you poured into them wasn't enough to make them choose you. But here's the truth that will set you free. Love that is real doesn't need to be proven, justified, or waited for. It shows up. It chooses you every single day. And if you have to beg for someone to be sure about you, they've already made their choice. So why is it so hard to let go? Because your mind has convinced you that their lack of effort isn't rejection. It's just a puzzle that needs solving. You believe that if you can just figure out the missing piece, send the perfect message, become the right version of yourself, they'll finally love you the way you deserve. Stop right there. You are not a riddle that needs solving. You are not a project that needs fixing. You are not a second-place prize that needs to prove itself worthy of first. You are already enough, exactly as you are. The problem isn't you. It's that you're seeing them for who you wish they were instead of who they actually are. If someone wanted to be in your life, they would be. No hesitation, no games, no hot and cold nonsense. Love doesn't operate in confusion. Think about it. When someone truly values you, do they make you doubt it? No. Because real love doesn't put you in a position where you have to wonder. So why do you keep convincing yourself otherwise? Because the truth is painful, and your brain would rather hold on to false hope than face reality. But here's the thing about reality. It doesn't change just because you wish it would. The person you're waiting for is already showing you how they feel about you. You just don't want to believe it. So today, you have a choice. You can keep staring into that foggy mirror, hoping for a different reflection, or you can wipe it clean and finally see things for what they are. Because the moment you do that, when you let go of the fantasy and accept reality, something powerful happens. You take your energy back. You stop waiting, you stop wondering, and you start living for yourself again. Let me tell you something. When you finally see the truth, you'll wonder how you ever believed the lie. One day, you'll look back at this moment, at this pain, and you'll be grateful you walked away. You'll see them exactly for who they are, not as a lost opportunity, but as a lesson that set you free. Don't let a text trick you. Keep your crown and play it smart. A real connection doesn't come with mixed signals. If you have to decode their intentions, they're not that into you. And yet here you are, staring at that screen, heart racing, brain spinning. A message pops up. Hey, you up? I miss you. I've been thinking about you. Just like that, every ounce of logic flies out the window. You were doing fine, moving forward, maybe even convincing yourself you were done. And then boom, one little text, and suddenly you're spiraling. Stop. Breathe. Don't fall for it. Ever been to a magic show? The magician waves one hand in the air, making you focus on the movement while the real trick is happening somewhere else. That's exactly what these texts are. Distractions, sleights of hand. They're not a genuine effort to fix things. They're just enough to keep you hooked, just enough to make sure you don't fully walk away. Because here's the truth. If they truly missed you, they would have done something about it. A real apology comes with changed behavior. A real effort comes with consistency. A real relationship doesn't dangle you like a toy, only picking you up when it's convenient. But that, "I miss you" text, it's bait. A little breadcrumb to keep you attached, to keep you wondering, to keep you available. They're not offering you a seat at the table. They're throwing you scraps. And what do? You sit there, trying to make a meal out of crumbs. It's time to wake up. Be honest. What happens after that text? You respond, feeling a rush of hope, thinking maybe this time it's different. For a moment it feels good. They reply, maybe even flirt a little. You smile at your phone, and then silence again. You're right back where you started, staring at a screen, waiting. And that's the cycle, the push and pull, the emotional roller coaster they keep you on. Every time you play along, you teach them one thing. They don't have to do the real work to keep you around because you'll be there the moment they drop a few words your way. I get it. That text makes your brain light up like a slot machine. It feels like validation, like a sign that they do care. You don't want to ignore it because what if this is the moment they change? But let's be real. How many times have you been here before? How many times have you let yourself believe that this time is different, only to find yourself right back in the same place? It's like going to a restaurant where they keep serving you cold food. You complain, they nod. They bring you another plate, still cold. And you just sit there, accepting it, hoping that eventually they'll bring you something hot. Spoiler alert, they won't. If they cared enough to give you what you deserve, you wouldn't have to beg for it in the first place. Here's what they don't tell you about real love. It's not confusing. It's not a puzzle you have to solve. It's not a guessing game where you sit there wondering what every text means, what every silence implies. When someone genuinely values you, you don't have to decode their words because their actions speak loud enough. So let's talk about the real reason you keep falling for these texts. It's not because you're weak. It's not because you don't know better. It's because you're hopeful. Because deep down, you still want to believe that this person is capable of being who you need them to be. But hope is a double-edged sword. Hope can keep you going, or it can keep you stuck. And right now, it's keeping you stuck. Because while you're sitting there analyzing every word, wondering what they really mean, what they really feel, guess what? They're living their life, moving on, texting you when they're bored, lonely, or looking for an ego boost. You deserve better. You deserve someone who doesn't send empty words at 2 a.m. You deserve someone who makes it clear that they want you, without hesitation, without conditions, without games. Someone who doesn't just drop crumbs and expect you to be grateful. So what do you do when that text comes in? You ignore it, you delete it, you remind yourself that you are the prize, not the consolation. And I know that's easier said than done, because ignoring means closing the door on a part of you that still wants to believe. It means facing that little ache inside, the part that wants to respond, wants to hold on. But the moment you don't respond, the moment you choose yourself over the little dopamine hit of a half-hearted message, that's the moment you start taking your power back. And guess what? That's when they notice. Because when you stop reacting, when you stop being available every time they decide to dangle a breadcrumb in front of you, they feel it. They realize that something is different, that maybe, just maybe, you're not sitting around waiting anymore. And that's when the game changes. Not because you're playing hard to get, not because you're being petty, but because you finally decided that you're not playing at all. You're done. Done settling. Done accepting less. Done mistaking inconsistency for effort. So here's what you do. When that message comes in, instead of answering, answer yourself. Ask yourself, do this person's actions align with what I truly want? Do they make me feel valued, respected, chosen? If the answer is no, then you already have your answer, because the right person won't leave you questioning. They won't make you wonder. They won't drop breadcrumbs and call it love. And when you finally accept that, when you finally stop settling for the illusion of effort, everything changes, because you'll no longer be chasing words. You'll be living in actions, and that's the moment you win. Silence screams louder than words. Let them feel it. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. But here you are typing, deleting, typing again, staring at your phone, fighting the urge to send one more message, a check-in, a simple, "Hey, hope you're good," a meme, a song lyric, something, anything, just to remind them you exist. You tell yourself it's harmless, that you just want to keep the connection alive, that you're just being nice. But deep down, you know the truth. You're waiting for a reaction. You think that if you stay silent, they'll forget you, that if you don't reach out, the space between you will grow until they move on, and you'll be the only one left hurting. But here's the truth. Every time you break your own silence just to remind them you exist, you lower your value in their eyes. Silence is power, and right now, you're giving yours away. Imagine walking into a room filled with noise, voices talking over each other, conversations blending into a mess of sound. No one is really listening, just waiting for their turn to speak. And then suddenly, one person goes completely silent. They stop talking, stop reacting, stop engaging. What happens? People notice. They stop and look. They wonder what changed. They feel the absence. Now think about your situation. You've been chasing, checking in, reaching out, keeping the connection alive. But what has it gotten you? A breadcrumb here, a half-hearted reply there, maybe even complete silence in return. And what do? You double down. You tell yourself maybe they didn't see it, maybe you should try again. No, stop right now. Want to make a statement? Disappear. Let them feel your absence. Let them wonder where you went. Let them realize that you were the energy, the warmth, the effort, the one who made things feel alive. Because here's the part no one wants to admit. People don't appreciate what's always there. They don't stop to think about water until they're thirsty. They don't miss the sun until they're standing in the cold. The more you chase, the more they pull away. The more you talk, the less they listen. But when you fall silent, when you step back, that's when they start paying attention. I know what you're thinking, but what if they don't notice? What if they never reach out? Then you have your answer. If your silence doesn't make them curious, if your absence doesn't make them feel anything, then what was your presence worth to them in the first place? Nothing. And that's exactly why you need to stop giving so much of yourself to someone who wouldn't even notice if you were gone. This isn't about playing games. This isn't about manipulation. This is about self-respect. Because every time you send another message, every time you reach out to check in, every time you remind them that you're still there waiting, you shrink in their eyes. They don't have to value you because they know you'll always be around. And when someone knows you'll always be there, they take you for granted. But when you stop, when you go silent, when you stop feeding their ego with your attention, that's when they feel the shift. And let me tell you something. Silence is loud. It's deafening. It creates space. It forces reflection. It makes people wonder. It makes people question. And most importantly, it makes people miss you. And if it doesn't, if they're completely unbothered by your absence, then congratulations. You just dodged a lifetime of being underappreciated. I know it's hard. I know every part of you wants to send that message to break the silence, just to feel connected again. But ask yourself, what has breaking your silence ever truly gotten you? Another cycle of false hope, another moment of being treated like an afterthought, another hit to your self-esteem. Because that's what it is, isn't it? Every time you break your own silence, every time you reach out first, every time you remind someone that you're still waiting, you're telling yourself, my self-worth depends on their response. It doesn't. Let them sit in the silence. Let them feel the distance. Let them be the one who wanders for once. And more importantly, let yourself detox from the addiction of seeking their validation. Because that's what this is, an addiction. You're hooked on the tiny highs of their responses, the illusion of closeness, the hope that this time will be different. But it won't be, not until you do something different. And today, that's exactly what you're going to do. You're going to stop begging for attention and start commanding respect. You're going to stop filling the silence with words and let it speak for you. You're going to stop chasing and let what's meant for you come to you. Because when you stop talking, when you stop reaching out, when you stop giving your energy to someone who doesn't deserve it, that's when they finally understand what they had. And if they don't, then they never deserved you in the first place. The real ones will notice. The real ones will show up. And when they do, you'll no longer be waiting. You'll be standing in your power, knowing that the love and attention you give is a gift, not something that should ever be begged for. And that's when everything changes. Take the wheel. Stop letting them steer your life. The moment you hand someone else the keys to your life, don't be surprised when they drive you somewhere you never wanted to go. And yet here you are, buckled in, sitting in the passenger seat, watching as someone else decides the direction of your life. You sit there, waiting, hoping they'll take you somewhere good, that they'll choose the right roads, that they won't leave you stranded in the middle of nowhere. But let me ask you something. When did you stop being the driver? When did you decide that your happiness, your choices, your future were better off in someone else's hands? Maybe you didn't even realize it. Maybe it started small, a little compromise here, a little silence there. You let them pick the destination, thinking as long as we get there together, it doesn't matter where we end up. But it does matter, because now you're lost. You've ended up somewhere that doesn't feel like home, somewhere that doesn't even feel like you. And the worst part? You keep telling yourself that if you just stay in the car a little longer, if you just trust them a little more, maybe, just maybe, they'll finally take you where you deserve to be. But they won't, because they're not driving for you. They're driving for themselves. Wake up. Your life is not an Uber ride. You don't just sit back and hope for the best. You don't hand over your power and pray that someone else knows what to do with it. You take the damn wheel. I know why you're afraid. What if I crash? What if I don't know where to go? What if I take the wrong turn and end up alone? But let me tell you something. It's better to be lost on your own than trapped in the wrong place with the wrong person. Because at least when you're in control, you can turn the car around. You can pull over, take a breath, figure things out. But as long as you're just sitting there waiting for them to drive you somewhere better, you're at their mercy. And some people, they like that power. They like knowing that you're too scared to leave, that you'll sit in the car, seatbelt on, no matter where they take you. That even if they drive recklessly, even if they take you down the darkest roads, you'll stay because they've convinced you that you can't drive without them. And that is the biggest lie you've ever believed. Let me tell you the truth. You were born to steer your own life. You are not a passenger. You are not a backup driver. You are the damn vehicle. And every second you spend letting someone else dictate your direction is a second you're wasting, a second you'll never get back. You're out here building your life around someone else's choices when you should be making your own. You're waiting for them to pick you, to prioritize you, to love you enough to finally take you where you need to be. What if I told you you don't need them to get there? What if I told you that the moment you decide to stop waiting, stop hoping, and stop depending on someone else's direction, that's the moment your real life begins? I know it's scary. I know the idea of taking back control feels overwhelming. Because what if you fail? What if you don't know the way? But let me remind you, no one knows the way at first. Everyone starts out lost. Everyone questions themselves. Everyone doubts if they have what it takes. But the only way to find your way is to start moving. And that means getting out of the damn passenger seat. That means telling yourself, enough. I'm not letting someone else control my happiness anymore. I'm not waiting for them to decide my worth. I'm not handing over my peace, my confidence, my future to someone who doesn't even know where they're going. I am taking the wheel. And it won't be easy. You'll be tempted to go back, to slide into that seat again, to let them drive just for a little while. Because it's comfortable. Because at least then you don't have to make the hard choices. But every time you do, you give away your power. And your power is too precious to waste. So today, you make a decision. You're done sitting in the passenger seat. You're done waiting for someone else to take you where you want to go. You're done handing over control of your own life. You take the keys, you turn the ignition, and you drive. Because your life is too important to let someone else steer it. And once you finally realize that, once you truly believe it, everything changes. Stop handing out gold to people who only give spare change. If you keep handing out discounts, don't be surprised when people start thinking you're cheap. And yet here you are, giving away your time, your love, your energy, like it's free, like it doesn't cost you anything, like it's unlimited. It's not. Imagine standing on a busy street, holding a stack of crisp $100 bills. You start handing them out to random strangers. Some say thank you. Some take the money without even looking at you. Some grab it and disappear. And before you know it, your hands are empty. You reach into your pockets, but there's nothing left. Now tell me, would you ever do that in real life? No. So why do you keep doing it with your energy? Why do you keep pouring yourself into people who take and take, but never give anything back? Why do you keep investing in relationships that leave you drained, empty, and wondering why you feel so exhausted? Because somewhere along the way, you were taught that love means sacrifice, that real relationships require effort, even if the other person isn't putting in the same. That if you just give enough, if you just try harder, they'll see your worth. But let me tell you something. Love is not an all-you-can-eat buffet where people come and fill their plates while you starve. Your energy is currency, your time, your attention, your love. These are not cheap things. Not everyone deserves access to them. And I know what you're thinking. What if I stop giving and they leave? What if I pull back and they forget about me? What if I don't try and I lose them? Then let them go. Because anyone who only sticks around when you're overgiving, overextending, and over-sacrificing isn't really there for you. They're there for what you provide. And the second you stop, they're gone. Let that sink in. Real connections don't require you to bleed yourself dry. Real love doesn't demand that you deplete yourself just to keep someone interested. Person who truly values you will never put you in a position where you have to lose yourself just to keep them. And yet you're still here, spending your energy like it's Monopoly money. You text first. You plan the meetups. You check in when they go silent. You keep giving, hoping they'll finally see what they have. But let me tell you something. If they don't see it by now, they never will. You keep hoping that your love, your loyalty, your consistency will be enough to change them. But people don't change because you love them harder. People don't suddenly wake up and say, "Wow, I should start treating them better," just because you let them walk all over you. You teach people how to treat you by what you accept. And when you keep pouring your energy into the wrong people, you are stealing from the right ones, the ones who would actually show up for you, the ones who would pour into you just as much as you pour into them. But they can't find you because you're too busy feeding empty mouths that never feed you back. Let me make this clear. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table. Some people are only around because you keep serving the meal, and the second you stop, they leave. Not because they ever cared, but because the food was free. Think about that. You wouldn't walk into a store and expect to take whatever you want without paying, right? So why do you let people walk into your life, take your energy, your kindness, your love, and give you nothing in return? Because you're afraid of being alone, afraid that if you stop giving, they'll find someone else, afraid that pulling back means you're being selfish. But listen to me carefully. Protecting your energy is not selfish, it's survival. The world has convinced you that being a good person means giving endlessly, never asking for anything back, and tolerating treatment you'd never accept from someone you love. But let me ask you this. If you saw someone you truly cared about draining themselves for people who don't appreciate them, what would you tell them? You'd tell them to walk away. So why can't you do the same for yourself? You have to start treating your energy like it's gold, like it's something rare and valuable. Because it is. Stop handing it out for free. Stop giving your time to people who make you feel like you have to earn theirs. Stop entertaining connections that leave you tired, questioning yourself, and feeling like you're never enough. You are enough. But you'll never feel that way if you keep surrounding yourself with people who make you prove it. And here's the real truth. The people who truly deserve your energy, you won't have to beg for their attention. You won't have to question where you stand. You won't have to feel drained after every interaction, because the right ones pour back into you. They match your effort. They don't make you feel like you have to audition for a place in their life. So today, right now, you make a choice. You stop handing out VIP access to people who should have never made it past general admission. You stop wasting your emotional currency on people who can't even afford the price of loyalty. You stop throwing away $100 bills on people who only give you spare change. You choose you. And once you do, everything changes. You become the architect of your own happiness. You start valuing your time, investing it only in those who appreciate it. You stop waiting for someone else to define your worth and begin to create a life where you know your value. You put yourself first and become the priority. It's time to embrace the truth that you are worthy of love, respect, and genuine connection. No more chasing, no more settling for less than what you deserve. You are not meant to be an option, you are meant to be the choice. So take a moment to reflect on your relationships. Are they lifting you up or dragging you down? Are they reciprocating your love and energy? Or are they leaving you feeling depleted? You have the power to change the narrative. You have the power to walk away from those who don't see your worth. You deserve to be surrounded by people who cherish you, who uplift you, and who recognize the incredible person you are. Trust that when you let go of what no longer serves you, you create space for the right people to enter your life. Now is the time to step into your greatness. Stand tall, own your worth, and remember, the love you seek starts within you. Cultivate that love, nurture it, and let it radiate outward. When you treat yourself with the respect and kindness you deserve, the right people will be drawn to you naturally. So believe in yourself, trust the journey, and know that you are worthy of all the good things life has to offer. Embrace your power, let go of the past, and step boldly into your future. You are the prize, and you deserve to be treated as such.